Oh. Okay, folks, here we go. This is it. I'm preparing to sell your Fife property in the new year. So if you're preparing to sell your Fife property in the new year, then you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of work your Fife home requires to take it to the market. But don't fret, we're here. We're top tip list. Put my teeth back in. top tip of a top list of tips. Here we go. For you're ready to show off your Fife home. So how do we nail that first impression, Perrie?
I think the ultimate thing is almost all the people that are interested in your property will get their first glimpse of what your Fife home can offer them in the form of the pictures, really, isn't it? So it's going to be your photographs, your estate agent's window, your online, your phone from your video. So all of those things are really going to be the things that hammer home first, and that's the thing that gives the person the impression of whether or not they're going to enjoy that home or the home would work for them initially. So that's where the initial part will come from. Not only that, but some buyers will drive by as well. They'll want to scope their area, they'll want to have a look at the street, they'll look at the location.
Classic, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's a classic every single time. What people don't realise out there is they don't actually inquire straight away. Most people actually just drive round to your house, have a look from the outside, have a look at the street back and forward, and then they drive away and they never, ever inquire. And this is the reason why we're talking about this today, because this is this first impression that we say right now. If it's not ready, they might not even inquire, as I said. And as they have been put off before then. So with that in mind, we're actually going to talk about, as I said, would strongly recommend that you take the following into consideration. This is such simple, common sense, but I always keep saying, and somebody always said to me who was far more successful than me in this, is the problem with common sense, Jim, is it's not that common.
Not everyone has it.
And we don't realise out there, it's right in front of our face what we need to do to sell our house. But we don't actually realise because we can't see the forest for the trees. So this is such simple tips in order to do that. But we just don't, as I say, we just don't recognise it because we just go through it every single day. And you live with it and you don't notice it. But this actually points it out fair and square. And this is what your buyer will notice as well. And as I said, even before they actually get through your door, even before they inquire with us, this could actually put them off if you've not done these simple tips. Perrie, do you want to talk about some of the strongly recommended things that you should consider?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you should consider these things, to get the most appealing and attractive look in your house and your property from the outside is a must. It's the obvious things. What you say there, Jim, about, it's common sense. It's such a big decision, isn't it, when someone puts their house on the market, that actually they're not necessarily thinking about all of the options. They're just thinking, right, I'm going to sell my house and that's it, and then off they go. And they don't really think about these things. But the ultimate first class thing that you should be doing is clean your windows. I know it sounds really daft, but it's a really obvious thing. Clean your windows. It really is easy, and it makes everything notice better in the house.
I get it every time I go to a place with a view. Every single time. You walk up, you walk into the room, and you go, and they go, and it's got a beautiful view over the sea, over the countryside, or wherever it is. And then you look at the view, and either the window has got a burst seal in it because it's a double glazed unit and it looks no great, or the front of the window is actually completely dirty and covered in dirt. And I think to yourself, if that's what you think is going to sell your house, then you need to get that sorted, because that is one of the major factors. And it is that simple thing about cleaning your windows.
It really is simple, but actually it's not just the fact of how that looks, it's the impression you've set then as well, though, Jim, isn't it? Because if someone pulls up outside the house and they see the outside is not well prepared, they're going to think, well, what's the inside like if outside's not that great? Because the outside's what everyone else is seeing.
What's the next thing you would advise?
Next thing definitely is front doors. Give them a good lick of paint, freshen them up, make your entrance feel more welcoming doing that as well. Along with new doormats. Again, that's something that we see quite a lot. Doormats are all chewed up and burst, or, you get the Hessian ones and they're all broken and what have you. But if you've got a doormat that's nice and bright and welcoming as well, I think that's nice, other than having like a tired one. Little dots by the doors are nice.
It's not easy to give your door a lick of paint at this time of year because of the moisture in the air. So you're going to have to, if you're a painter and decorator, fantastic. Or if you know this, you're going to have to wait for the exact right day in order to do your front door. at this time of year to make sure it's okay. I mean, if it's a UPVC door, you could basically get a lot of UPVC cleaners online, can't you?
Yeah.
Where you can take all these wee scuff marks off and everything and make it absolutely beautiful and rejuvenate it. But if you have to paint it, then you have to take advice, obviously, from a painter and decorator. If they're coming around to do it, fantastic. They'll be able to work that out anyway. Or you could just jump onto Google and actually Google how do I paint my front door in poor weather conditions, and you'll be guaranteed that somebody somewhere has actually come up with that. They come up with that thing, yeah.
There'll be a way.
That's the fantastic thing about Google and YouTube and stuff like that. You can get a YouTube video on everything. It's like the most way out there thing you could ever think of, and it's like you could just type that in, and it's like there's a YouTube video. Somebody actually took the time out of the 6 billion people in the world to do a video exactly on this subject just for you. So use it. It's literally the Reader's Digest of the internet, isn't it? Because I mean, if everybody remembers, used to get the Reader's Digest book on how to do things. You know, I've still got mine. That's how I did all my buy-to-let stuff in the very beginning. So that's effectively what YouTube's like. So it's a great, great tool for people walking you through different scenarios. Now, if you could watch some or another and you think, I have no idea how that person just did that. Just watch a different one, because there'll be somebody else done it as well. That's what always happens. Next one for you.
Again, we're talking about the kind of first impression, so it's tidy up your entrance hallway as well. You know, make sure that there's no posts or leaflets or flyers or restaurant takeaway menus through the letterbox. I mean, we get that quite often as well. Even when we go to view properties and take people around, you walk in and there'll be flyers and everything, and it's really important to put those out of sight.
First thing I do when I walk in a door.
Me
when
too.
I walk in to do a viewing, that's the first thing I do is grab all the mail at the back and put everything in a drawer just so it's out the way, because it just looks like it's neglected.
It does.
It's that.
It's a negative, isn't it?
Yeah, big negative. And then also maybe even a dusty front vestibule in terms of the dust floating about and here and there. So it's just that different. You see how that systematic process is. The outside of the house, and then the front door, and then the entrance hall as you go in. But we've forgotten a bit just before the outside of the house. What is that, Perrie? What comes in, the one after the entrance hall? But we should have put it in before then, shouldn't we?
We should have done. I mean, it's your driveway, isn't it? If you have a driveway, it's a really good idea. Even if you've only got a 1-car driveway, you might want to take your car out and put it around the corner somewhere and leave that driveway empty so that the people that are coming can see that the driveway functions for what it is. If they see it full, they think, oh, where's my car going to go? It's an automatic thing. They don't think about taking something away to put something in its place, do they? They want to see an empty space.
Absolutely. And then the other one is when you get out the driveway, or you actually invite the buyers. If you've got difficult parking in your area, make a space in your driveway for the person to actually park in. Tell your agent they could, for them to park in your driveway. Make it easy on them. Don't make it difficult, because you're just pointing out the negative again. The next one is when you get out the car. It's the weeds, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the good thing at this time of the year, Rob, you can get away with that. It's not too bad, but definitely you do need to take them out. So it's not very desirable for people to see that. So sometimes within your photos you can take little bits out. There might be a case that you can't get them out or whatever, but you can fade them out if you've got a really good photographer. We have a professional lady that does ours, but you don't want anything at all that is a negative impact to your viewer. You want to diminish that as much as you can. You want everything to be as good as you can make it, and when they come to view your home, it is at its best potential.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we come on to then as well as the overall picture itself, is to be honest, and hiding less than desirable features in the photographs won't help your potential buyers, as they'll see defects when they actually come to view your home. And actually, again, it'll pick up on it. A classic example we used to be told years ago when we did on property misdescriptions, when we did the legislation, an example was, if you've got a petrol station next door to your house, the typical example was the person actually, as an example, a case study, they took the photograph of the house, but they failed to actually show any of the petrol station next door. It was literally right next door. So every single person that came to view that property actually immediately got out of the car and went, I'm not coming to see that. I'm not having a petrol station next door to my house. That was essentially it. So make sure the photographs actually encompass a wee bit of what's round about you as well. And also, as I said, don't hide all these less than desirable things about your property, because it will put people off when they get round. Because there's another one as well, as you used to get all the time. I never used to get about mine because they used to comment about, what we see in your photographs is actually what we're getting. He says it's quite unusual because we go around other agents' houses and we see all these photographs, these beautiful photographs, and then we get around the house, it's nothing like the photograph. So again, it's a property, a proper description, a proper accurate thing of your house. A classic for this time of year as well is some actual sellers say, "Oh, I've got photographs from the summer if you want to use them." Like, no, that will look out of place completely. And then it will highlight your house for all the wrong reasons. And the fact that somebody might actually think your house has been on the market for quite a long time because it's got summery photographs in them. So you need to have the photographs fit the season itself.
Definitely. And when we're talking about that thing with the weeds as well, for me, it's not just about what's actually in the pavement and in your pathways. I do it here because it's an eyesore and it irritates me. When I pull up outside my house, actually even the public pathway, because you don't have a scaffold now that comes around and does all those things as I would have known them when I was little. So even the pathway all along the fence at the front, all along the pathway from the road to the path, I weed all of that as well. It's a little thing, but it makes a big difference when someone pulls up.
It does make it. I never thought about that one, but that's actually a really good one because it does actually right along the bottom of your wall, isn't it? And it doesn't look great because then you've got this beautiful looking house, and then just at the front of it, it's not a very desirable street, if that makes sense. So that's probably another one. Now you don't need to go to the extent of actually doing everybody else's houses.
No.
Just in case. That's the type of thing I'd think. That's why I'm mentioning that. Because that mean I have to do everybody else's, make sure everybody thinks the street's perfect. No, you're all right. Just do it outside of your house so people get the first impression and they actually think, that house is actually taken care of. That's all they want to know. They just want to know your house is actually taken care of and you actually look after it. So they don't need to have any surprises later on once they bought it. People think in different ways from us. Therefore, they've got different views of things, and so that's why it's important to do all these little things just to allay all these initial concerns that they would maybe have about the property. The analogy that springs to mind is I used to get told every single time when you'd go to buy a car privately, and the rule of thumb was for every one fault you saw in that car, there's 2 faults hiding that you don't know about.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that's the same analogy right now when people look around some houses. That's where I would see that. What about what could you do then to up the presentation?
Yeah, I mean, upping the presentation is key, isn't it? Because you want yours to stand out from everyone else. I mean, the tips that we've given about the outside will certainly give you your Fife Property a tidier feel, which is obviously key. But an organised home inside as well will also give Fife buyers a vital opportunity to picture how they will fit their life into your living space, and that's key as well. But if you want to present your home on its best possible light, then consider how you would present it is key. We live in it, so we've got all of our accumulated items everywhere. You might not want to have all of your accumulated items out, would be my first thing. So what kind of things we talk about this often. Decluttering's one major thing, Jim, isn't it?
Yep. We've got a whole show just on decluttering. So if you want, you can just go to our Fife Properties TV YouTube channel, type in declutter, and a whole show will come up on how to declutter your house and all the different rooms of the house. It's an amazing amount of content for somebody that really wants to focus on that. But decluttering, it's such a simple suggestion, but it can have a massive impact on what you're doing. So removing these large bulky items that you just said before, Perrie, if only temporarily, will have a massive effect. The difficulty here is everybody thinks to themselves, I've not got enough storage. I say, just open a cupboard and put it in. But what happens if somebody opens it? Well, we'll deal with that when it happens. If you've got an outside shed or you've got an outside garage, then fair enough, put it all out there as a temporary measure. But you have to find if you are moving, spend the time and invest the time on actually getting everything that's not necessary out the way anyway. It's only going to be temporarily, and whether it means storage somewhere else, having a wee small storage container unit, and actually hiring that for a couple of months, just to declutter all the things that you don't really need in your house for the presentation of the house, that could be the right way forward. In America, what they do is they stage every single house. They basically take everything out of the contents in the house and they put all new contents in the house from a staged company, and that's all. That's what every single person does in America. We do not do that in the UK at all, and yet there is a lot of declutter. So a lot of people don't want to see your stuff. It is the things like the dog beds, isn't it?
Yeah,
the dog
it's
bed,
the fact.
the cat bed, you know, the rabbit in the corner, and it's like for a child's room, that's fine. And if they've got children that appeals to them, then fair enough, maybe put the rabbit in the corner because that does appeal. But if it's someday it could be allergic to animals, you never know. So it could be. So you just got to play it as you are. What's your thoughts on this?
It's definitely a fine line, isn't it? So you want to make the house presentable, but you also want to make it look lived in. So you have to be careful not to over declutter, because then people come in and think, oh, that's a bit cold. So you do need to have some personalized items around. The point you make there, Jim, about putting things in cupboards. Actually, if somebody opens a cupboard, I don't think that's a problem. If it were me and I opened a cupboard and there were boxes in it, that's kind of what I'd expect to see in a cupboard. So, you know, it wouldn't put me off if I opened a cupboard and it was full. I would rather they were there as all the way through the house. So
you imagine opening a cupboard and it was just completely empty in every single cupboard.
Yeah,
you'd be like, there's something no right here.
Exactly.
Cupboards are meant to have stuff in it.
Exactly. So for me, I don't have any problem with that. But yeah, getting rid of your bulky items. Dog beds are fine, you know, but you can tidy that up as well. You know, Jock, he's got like a little basket for his toys. So all the toys at the end of the day get put in there, and then that gets put in the cupboard when we go to bed. So you just put things away.
Give them a hoover or give them a wash. Just to clean them down, and you can put them back out, because somebody might actually have pets as well. It's important. Maybe ask your estate agent at the time, as you know, is the person got pets or that, because then I could maybe make it more pet friendly, or if maybe that's not their preference, then I can maybe it'll make it less pet friendly. So all these different things could make a fundamental difference to having the right profile of the buyer that walks through the door, in order for you to make your house exactly what they want. You want to make it so easy for them to buy it, and these are classic examples of how to do it.
Talking about the pet angle, sorry, Jim, but just before you go away for the pet angle there, we've got a client at the moment who has a pet, and actually what we're doing with any viewer is we're saying to the viewers, there is a dog in the house, is that an issue for you, and making sure we understand it. And again, it's important to know that as well, because not everybody is dog lovers, and you know, if they think there's a dog there, it can completely put them off the house, because the experience that they're having with the nervousness around the dog, they're not actually getting the opportunity to enjoy the beauty of the home.
Yeah. Absolutely, I would say so. The other thing, just to roll on from that, is when you're off the hall and you walk into the main front lounge, there's usually a beautiful bay window. The last thing you should do is actually cover that bay window completely up. It's amazing how many people have the curtains that go the other side. Now, it looks fantastic inside when you look at it, but you've got at this time of year where it's quite darker, you want to let as much light into your house as possible. And so keep the curtains open, make sure the windows are clean, and any natural sources of light, so that clear, so your home can be as bright and feel as bright as possible. Use mirrors as well, if you have mirrors, to reflect light and bounce light in that process. Make sure any burst units in your double glazing are actually done. Now, that might take a lot of time. So if you're thinking about selling in the next 2 or 3 weeks, then you need to get in touch with a local glazer in order to get that in place, because they take about 4 weeks to actually get everything made and ordered, and then come and fit it and supply and fit it. And so that might take a wee bit of time to do that. So bay windows are absolutely beautiful, but use them to their advantage. The one other thing as well, as I would say, is try and use daylight lighting in your bulbs in your house. Daylight lighting, so it's a nice white light, and it's a natural light to the eye, so you see all the colors in your room. And also, when you actually put it on, no one actually realizes the light is actually on. So when the sun disappears behind the clouds outside, if you've got the sun, there's a bonus if you have, but the sun disappears out behind the cloud and it goes dark, then the light actually accommodates for the room, and it actually doesn't look like a light shift, and therefore your light doesn't look dingy. Now, that could happen during the day, so that's why we would normally put lights on during the day as well, because sometimes it's prone to do that.
It's the first thing I do when I go into a house when I'm doing viewings, Jim, is I go around and put all of the lights and lamps on. Make
sure your lights are working as well, all your bulbs. There's nothing more irritating to walk into a room and you see a light chandelier and it's got maybe 6 or 7 bulbs or 8 bulbs in it, and only 2's working, and the rest look blown as if they're not working. It's like it just shows neglect.
It's that lack of care thing again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a neglect thing. It's just like, oh my goodness, change the bulbs. Every single time I say that to people, change the bulbs. Bulbs are actually cost effective now. They're not a huge amount you used to have before. And as well, replace your old, is it the incandescent lighting that used to come on, and it takes about 5 years to heat up to see the room. It's like, I've saved a fortune on my lighting, and it's like, yeah, but I can't see you in the room.
Yeah, they're not great.
Like, where are you? Sorry, where are you? I've got the lights on, honest. It's like, let's wait 5 minutes for it to heat up then.
Yeah.
So change these lights. Don't continue to use them. Change them if you can to proper LED white lights that come on and are bright straight away from the very beginning. What other things should we be thinking about, Perrie?
I mean, as well as the home being bright and natural looking, you also want it to feel warm. So you want it to be a warm place. So make sure all your rooms are heated prior to your viewing taking place. Even those rooms that you don't use, we're all doing it just now, aren't we? I know for a fact I've not got all the heaters on in every single room in my home. But if someone was coming to see it, then absolutely I'd be putting it on at a nice temperature as well. So you don't want it to have it overly hot, because again, then that comes across all stuffy, and that's never great either. You want it to feel bright and warm and welcoming. So yeah, definitely having heat in the rooms is a big factor.
Yeah, it's just that nice warmth as you walk in the door. It's especially, it shows your house as a I don't know, it's just cozy. You know, when you just that feeling you get. Now, this is all about feelings, remember. This is nothing to do with logic, because they know you've got 3 rooms, and they know you've got 2 bathrooms, and they know you've got a big lounge that has a dining room in it, and they know you've got a dining kitchen. That is logic. Selling a house is all about feelings. How do people feel about your house? How do they see themselves living in your house? All that. So, you know, we're selling the features, but the benefits are the most important thing. Why are they buying it and what for? And that's why when they walk in the door for the first time and just get that nice hit of warmth, and you could hear them saying, "Oh, that's great."
I often
need to say it, but you could feel it.
But I often get that though. People say, "Oh, it's got a lovely feel to it, this house," and it's all those things we're speaking about. That's what they're feeling. Yeah,
and make sure you put the ambipures behind the front doors.
Yeah, especially if the coats and boots are there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a real good key here, and it's pop yourself down to somewhere like Home Bargains. You get £1 for 3 gel air fresheners. Take the front off of them, stick them behind the doors or behind curtains so people can't see them in the room, but they just give that nice smell to the place as well. If someone walks in the door, you have to understand, you have to think about it for yourself and how you feel about it. So what do you expect? How do you want to feel when you walk in the door? And that's exactly what you're trying to recreate. So you want to go for things like, I think it's called oxygen as the smell. You know, that sort of or cotton smell, or
the linen
lavender smell, or vanilla smell. It's all the smells that people have been, for want of a better word, socially conditioned into thinking smell fresh. I mean, who said the mint taste was actually fresh? Where did that come from?
That's true.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's made up, isn't it? But it's been social conditioning over the years that mint is fresh. So why do we have mint in our toothpaste all the time? Because we believe it's fresh. Why is it not? Because it could be chocolate flavored, but the reality is you don't think chocolate flavored toothpaste would do as good as mint flavored toothpaste, but they both do the same job. So that's why it's important to understand that the right smells around your house will do the job for you, as well as you taking someone round the house. So it's important to have that. What about bathroom spaces?
Oh, they're the big thing, aren't they?
Again? See that? The way we both went, oh, that's a big thing.
They're the big thing. That's that feeling again straight away, isn't it? We're like, oh.
Exactly. Because I bet you £1 to a penny, you saw in your mind straight away black mold.
I saw black mold and bottles all around the bath. That's what I saw.
Yeah. There you go. See what I mean? See how we're all conditioned into thinking the same way. So if you can actually if you can come out of that and understand what to do with that, it will actually put a huge sort of premium in somebody's mind about why your house is so important for them to have.
Keeping your bathrooms and your toilet areas clean are a massive must. And it's actually easy. Some bits do get forgotten, and you'll see that sometimes you go in and even the pipe at the back of the toilet and everything's black. And some people do look at a lot of detail. So it's keep it free from mold. It's a big thing. Keep it tidy. So again, I know we want to use it and we don't want to be putting things away. And I've got the shower block things with all my bottles in. And again, it's not nice for others to look at, but it's practical whilst I'm living in the house. But again, you can just put them in a little box or a basin and pack them away in the cupboard before your viewings take place, bring them back out again. So it's all about, we've done a show on this as well, Jim, about preparing the house, haven't we? About how you can basically be viewing ready by having things boxed up, in they go, out they come, in they go, and out they come.
Viewing ready within 2 hours every time.
Yeah.
And again, on our Fife Property TV channel, you'll see there's one there, how to prepare your house in 2 hours, within 2 hours of viewing every single time. And it doesn't take long at all to do that. It's just preparation and making sure everything is place. It's not easy. Easier said than done, by the way. So if you've got a big family, it's not easy to keep that under control. But as I said, it's important for that short period of time, which is typically right now, probably around about 6 weeks to 8 weeks to sell a property on average, because of the number of properties on the market. I'll talk about that more in an update later on. But I think that's important to do that. So coming back to the bathroom, my biggest bugbear sometimes is the rickety fan.
Yeah, the noise.
Switch the light on, and the fan comes on with the light whether you like it or not. And the difficulty is when we go around to put all the lights on in the house, the fan's going, and it's like you're downstairs and you could still hear that hum. You think to yourself, oh, right, okay, I'm going to go and switch that off. So just make sure the fan isn't rickety in the background. It also, as you said, it's the seals on the bath, make sure they're not defective. The grout as well, make sure it's just, now a top tip for that is just bleach it. It just turns it white. It's so the grout looks fine. That's all you need to do, just bleach it. You get so many practical things now, Jim. I bought something recently because I have sore fingers, so I struggle sometimes to scrub and what have you. And it's basically like a scrubbing brush on a pole for doing all your tiles, and you just run up and down it. It's fantastic for keeping them clean. I know the one you're talking about, the wee thin thing.
Aye, it's brilliant.
It's got like wire brush in the end, the wee thin wire brush. Yeah, I mean, that makes absolute sense. All these wee gadgets are out there in order to do that. Again, if you're not sure how to do certain things, go back to YouTube. You know, you find it. YouTube's the biggest search engine outside Google. A lot of people don't realise that amount of information that's on there to help you throughout anything you really want to do. So I think there's a lot of information. There's a lot of advice in there. In terms of what to do so far. If anybody else has got any suggestions, I mean, Jeanette had actually said about, exactly, Jeanette, thanks very much, about the weeds outside the pavement. It also said about the paint. You have to have at least 10 degrees on both day and night to allow the paint to cure. So thanks very much for that. I appreciate that. And anybody else has got any suggestions, please feel free to put them in the comments and help someone else on their journey as well. You never know. It just might make that fundamental difference between someone finding their dream home and someone not finding their dream home. Yeah, it can be very time consuming. Perrie, do you want to finish off? Do you want to finish off here?
I was just going to say exactly what you're saying there. All of what we're saying seems really time consuming. It's not really. You could do all of this in an afternoon. Spend a wee Sunday just preparing yourself, get the rubber gloves on and off you go. So, keep your home tidy. That's the one thing. Be organised, make sure that it's welcoming. It will definitely put you in good stead for when those viewers start coming through. And remember, visitors need to imagine themselves living in the home. And I think that's the real key here. So it's great that you live there and you've got all your things around, but doing these things that we've suggested will really make a fundamental difference on how yours will stand out. And as you said there a minute ago, Jim, it's taken between 6 and 8 weeks now because there are more properties out there. Yours has got to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah. So my final thoughts on it is, you're selling in the new year and you're looking to sell in the new year, then you need to get started now. It will take a lot of time in order to get over the line. If you're selling right now, then it takes round about probably 3 to 6 months to sell a property. So it will take a considerable amount of time, and you could be in a completely different season by the time you actually get your new home. So it's preparation is the key here. Making sure you've got all the right information, making sure you've got all your ducks in a row before you start that journey. And that's why you speak to an estate agent now, in order to help you through that process. If it's not now, and you speak to the estate agent and you think, well, it's not now, I should be putting my house in the market, then the estate agent will more than likely tell you that. They will tell you that anyway, or you might decide that for yourself and think, okay, if it takes 5 or 6 months, I need to do that. But then you've got all the processes before that you need to do in the run up to that, which is things like, how do I need to organize my house? Do I need to do this? Do I need to change my kitchen? Do I need to change my bathroom? A lot of these things can be actually put to bed by the professional advice from an estate agent, and tell you what to do next. So hopefully that's given you a lot of information to go on. And by all means, if you need to speak to us, please feel free to pick up the phone, message us direct on these posts, contact us through our email channels. There's no much ways that you can't contact us, to be honest. It's
We're
like,
available.
apart from standing outside your front door and going, Fife Properties. I might actually appear on your doorstep, to be honest.
Oh my goodness.
But apart from that, thanks very much for folks for joining us, and we'll speak to you later. Bye-bye for now.
Bye for now. Take care.